Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, the Flare Network. How many of you in the XRP community have been seeing this pop up if you're hanging out on the Twitters or maybe xrpchat.com? I'm guessing a lot of you have seen this. It's a platform that essentially brings smart contracts to XRP. And it's very technical, and understandably, as a result, a lot of people sought answers from none other than XRP community member Galgatron, so I'm going to be sharing a lot of his insight with you. And you know, the way that I've always looked at this from the day I started this channel is I want this to be something to where, you know, first of all, I just want to be able to engage more with the XRP community, most certainly, but I want us to learn together because I'm not going to pretend to know everything. I am not a know-it-all, and this is highly technical, and so I want to share with everybody the things about Ripple and XRP that I know, and I want to learn from other XRP community members that know things that I don't. And Galgatron is just a wealth of knowledge. So we're going to hop in here and get rocking and rolling. But before we do so, if you would please delicately tap that like button, I would definitely appreciate it. But don't get all smashy with it. Just a simple, delicate, frilly tap will do. And also, treat yourself, girl, by subscribing to the Moon Lambo channel, which is the Moon Lamboist channel on all of the YouTubes. Now, jumping into the Flare Network, I want to start with this, actually. This is a tweet from XRP community member All the Way Away, who tagged me along with a few others and wrote, "Listen to the digital asset investor. This is legit." So that'd be my fellow XRP YouTuber, the digital asset investor. "To all the tubers, it might be helpful if you guys did videos on this because people seem genuinely confused." And here's a tweet from the digital asset investor who wrote simply, "For those questioning the legitimacy of Flare Network, it's legit, #0doubt. And so why does he say that? Well, he shared a couple screen grabs here. You can see this was a piece written by Vanessa Pastrito, and it's titled "Investing in Flare Networks, Enabling Smart Contract Capability for the XRP Ledger." And then he shared this screen grab also, indicating this, that you just know what her background is. Vanessa Pastrito worked at Ripple from July 2018 through November of 2019. Now, onto this. So this is the tweet that really got this all rolling yesterday from @Flare Networks. This is the official Twitter account. And they wrote, "Flare trustlessly brings together the value of non-Turing complete tokens with the transformative power of smart contracts on a network that can scale for value as well as transaction throughput, starting with XRP. Read the overview here." And so part of this, and I'm going to read through just part of this, and then I want to jump into what Galgatron had to say about this, because this thing's way too long. And they know that it's way too long, which is it's kind of funny. They put a TLDR down here, which means too long didn't read, so it's just like an abbreviated version of everything here. And you'll find this fascinating, because if you hold XRP, you're going to get an airdrop, actually. And the specifics of how the airdrop are going to be function have not been announced to... as far as I know anyway, but you're going to get some free tokens here. And this is not the first time something like this happened. Understand, so to be clear, what we're talking about here with the Spark token, which is associated with the Flare Network, this is all, it's a fork of the XRP ledger, but it's not a combative one, basically. And that's why they're defining this as a utility fork. That's the phraseology that they're using here. But this is commonplace. For instance, when Bitcoin first forked and there was Bitcoin Cash, you got I believe this is I know you definitely got free Bitcoin Cash, and I think it was on a one-to-one basis. However much Bitcoin you had, that you got that much Bitcoin Cash. I could be off on that technically, but regardless, I know that if you were holding Bitcoin at the time it forked, you just got free Bitcoin Cash. And so it'd be similar with this, okay? And so here's what they wrote in part. I'm just going to cover part of this before jumping into the comments. "Flare's token, Spark, is created through what may be the first ever utility fork whereby the origin network, in this case the XRP ledger, benefits through increased utility. 100 billion Spark tokens will be created at the outset of the Flare network, of which 45 billion will be claimable by existing XRP holders, excluding Ripple Labs. This mirrors the existing amount of distributed XRP such that current XRP holders will be able to claim approximately 1 Spark token for every XRP token held. 25 billion tokens will go to the developers, Flare, and 30 billion tokens will go to a nonprofit foundation called the Flare Foundation. Spark token holders can earn a return on their Spark tokens, both through committing Spark tokens as collateral to secure the trustless issuance and redemption of FXRP, and by contributing data to the Flare time series oracle. These functions do not compete with each other. And FXRP, as I understand it, thanks to Galgatron, it's basically just, if I'm remembering correctly when I read this earlier, it's basically just the concept. FXRP is just like issuing an IOU on the XRP ledger, because of course the XRP ledger has a built-in decentralized exchange, and so you can issue IOUs, and they can be representations of anything you want. It could be a representation of Bitcoin. It could be a representation of Skittles. You know, it doesn't matter. Gummy bears, whatever. And then, of course, you know, if you're going to engage with such an issuance, you better trust that centralized entity that is issuing it. But still, anyway. And then this piece continues. The Spark token is used for governance of the network through voting. With the exception of grants and investments to help develop Flare, the foundation takes technical direction from the Spark token owners. And check this out. This is actually interesting, I thought. A key role of the foundation is to help execute upgrades and changes to the network agreed by governance vote that cannot be implemented without a code change. Importantly, written into the Foundation's constitution will be a bylaw that the Foundation must be wound down and all Spark tokens held by the Foundation burned if the Spark token holders agree that its existence is no longer beneficial to the network. So this whole not-for-profit entity that they're setting up, the token holders can just say, no, we don't want you anymore, and then it's gone, and the tokens it holds burned. Not distributed, just completely going extinct, like my favorite avian creature, the dodo. And this is interesting because, you know, I was listening to Blockstars, the latest Blockstars podcast, which is hosted by Ripple's CTO, co-creator of the XRP ledger, David Schwartz, and he had on a very interesting guest, Stefan Thomas. Many of you will be familiar with him. He's actually Ripple's former CTO, so David Schwartz took over his old job, right? And Stefan Thomas, he moved on to start Coil, which is, and it's functional, by the way, of course, for those of you that are new to the space, you may not be aware, but this new form of web monetization that Coil created, it's actually live now, but that's their whole thing, because prior to Coil, there are a couple ways that you can monetize on the web. You could, you know, there are paywalls. You ever go to, I don't know, what publications do this? Wall Street Journal, perhaps, or maybe you can see like a limited number of articles before you hit a paywall and says, you must subscribe now to read this article, blah, blah, blah. It's either that, or the other form is you just get a ton of advertisements. And this third one has to do with streaming money in real time effectively. And so I'm not going to get into it any further in this video. I've talked about it certainly a number of times, quite a few times in the past. But that's Stefan Thomas who came up with that. But part of what they talked about, a big part of what they talked about, was why the XRP ledger does not have smart contract capability. And they considered it. They actually, when XRP was being developed, they actively considered adding smart contract capability, but they ultimately declined to do it. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons in this video because it just go too long, and I honestly didn't commit them all to memory anyway. But it was a fascinating talk, and I hadn't heard anybody from Ripple talk about that before, but they actively decided it would be a bad idea to add smart contract capability. I can give you one reason that I do recall off the top of my head, which is they cited that it would be very costly because it's like, in that instance, you don't know what you're optimizing for, and if there are DDoS attacks against anything having to do with the smart contract portion of the ledger, that could be rather costly for people that are not engaged with that particular portion of the ledger. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, don't try and be all things to all people. And it also goes back to this concept of there will not be one cryptocurrency to rule them all. You know, the different cryptocurrencies have different capabilities, this and that. And so, you know, I won't get off on a tangent on that any further, but I found that fascinating since it's on the same topic here. I thought I'd share that with you. But if you want to see that, just Google Blockstars Ripple and it'll come up, and just watch the most recent one with David Schwartz and Stefan Thomas. It's about 42 minutes long. It's part one. There's going to be a second part coming out soon, but I thought it was really interesting, so I listened to the whole thing as I was driving around earlier today. And so Ross McFerdine here, am I saying that? Ross McFerdine XRP on the Twitters tagged Galgatron and wrote, "Could you please explain with the Flare project is like a DeFi-oriented fork? I can't figure out whether or not that's a game changer. Is there any possibility of collateralization with another asset? Thank you." Galgatron responded. He wrote, "This entire Flare project brings Ethereum-style smart contracts to XRP. Game changer. Flare is coin agnostic. Anything it does for XRP, it can do for any other coin." Next, and we get a little bit more into specifics here, and I think I wanted to start up here. Okay, yeah. So Galgatron retweeted that the tweet from Flare that I shared with you earlier in the video, and he wrote, "Many people were asking me about Flare networks. Let me put it this way. If it were possible to process XRP in a trustless manner on the Ethereum blockchain, it would be groundbreaking. This product claims to deliver the net effect of that functionality. While not quite as powerful as the promises of Codius, we all know Codius is a lame duck at this time, so being able to leapfrog right into fully matured EVM support is quite amazing." So with Codius it was a smart contract platform being developed at Ripple, I think might have been starting in like 2014, but not part of the XRP ledger. And I don't remember a ton of specifics because it's like never in the news. It comes up a little bit from time to time within the community. And so it's more or less defunct at this point. That's the way I've certainly viewed it here. But there's no coin attached to that particular platform. It just allows for interoperability. And then EVM is Ethereum Virtual Machine. That's what that stands for. And then Galgatron continues here. One particularly notable possibility is the potential for the creation of a Uniswap hybrid smart contract that allows swaps between any two coins, the world's first truly chain-agnostic decentralized exchange. That's but beyond words. Where Flare has to prove itself as reliable is in the cross-chain agents feature. I do expect agents will invariably automate their roles, but they're still the Achilles heel, and I'm curious to see how their reliability plays out, particularly in high-volume scenarios. I hope to better understand their scaling and tokenomics over time as they progress with deliverables and adoption. The real world has a knack for exposing the limitations of any tech, as we can see with Ethereum's soul-crushing gas prices. Right, and so we'll see. And so I totally get where Galgatron's coming from with this. Things sound great in practice, and then once implemented in the real world, it's kind of like people when... I'm actually laughing at people. It's just kind of, I have the benefit of hindsight. But think about when Bitcoin was launched and people were like, oh my gosh, this can be used in place of fiat currency. Yeah, except for that whole 5 to 7 transactions per second thing. That's kind of a problem. Then transaction fees got up to over $50 in late 2017. So that's kind of an issue, right? And so old crypto guy wrote, "Galgatron, sir, you are awesome. Would you have a dummied down version for us non-techie old farts? How would XRP holders benefit from this?" And Galgatron wrote, "It brings programmability to XRP, allowing XRP to join the autonomous decentralized finance movement." If none of that makes sense, time to start reading. So you didn't want to explain it any further. Then there's a little bit more here before I wrap up the video. I think, where did I want to jump in? It might have been, or maybe I did want to cover this. Yeah, okay, so Galgatron wrote, "Very simple," and I was kind of mentioned this earlier. "Very simple, FXRP is a Flare token, like we can make a Bitcoin IOU token on the XRP ledger, same concept. FXRP is exchanged one-to-one by the agents when converting between blockchains. Sparkcoin is the native Flare coin, a value to be set by supply and demand." And then he also stated here, "For the airdrop, you get 1 Spark for every XRP coin you have. Spark is the native coin to the Flare blockchain. In normal use, you'd lock XRP on the XRP ledger at a specific address. An agent would assign you FXRP one-to-one on the Flare chain. From here, you can use FXRP in contracts." So that's pretty much it for now. I'm sure there's going to be more coming out and more understanding about how this is actually going to be implemented, but Flare hasn't released all the specifics to this point, but interesting nonetheless. So as soon as I learn more, especially about how you can get your airdrop if you're interested, I will share that with you. But that is it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything, because of anything that I say or write, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!